Today, we're gonna lean into green and make matching his and hers St. Patrick's Day bracelets. St. Patrick's Day is coming up, and I was inspired to make matching his and hers leather bracelets with little stamped words and crystals on them. They're so cute, and I'm so excited to show you. Let's go over the tools and supplies we're gonna use for this project. Hammer, bench block, our flat leather, tweezer nose plier, our leather cutter, flat nose plier, flush cutter, 1.8 millimeter hole punch, bending plier, our enamel marker, our Impress Art stamps, our little stamp guide, our crystal setter in the 1.8 millimeter, and then our little crystals, 24 gauge wire, tape, and we also had our magnetic clasp and 4 jump rings. All right, so first we're gonna cut our leather. And the general rule for men's bracelets is that you're gonna want about an 8.5 to 9 inch bracelet. And for women, I like to say 7 to 7.5 to 8 inches. It kind of varies. And you always want to factor in the clasp. So for this particular bracelet, my clasp here is about almost an inch total. So I kept that in mind while cutting my leather. Also, everyone's wrist varies, so just measure whoever's wrist you're making it for, or just make a few in different sizes if you're planning on selling these or aren't sure. I've already made the men's version, so now I'm gonna show you the women's version. And I'm gonna cut 6 inches of leather. That way, when it's finished, it'll be almost 7 inches. So just lay it out, and you can use these leather cutters to just cut it straight up. Now I'm gonna go ahead and attach the clasp to it with my hole punch and my little oval jump rings. We do have this set of amazing magnetic clasps that come with oval jump rings. I just think they're easy to use, easy to work with. All right, so you've got your hole punch, and you're just going to punch right through the leather. Make sure everything's tight. Punch it, going from the top down. And then grab those oval jump rings. We're gonna use 2 on each side. Twist it open. Twist it closed. And put that one on one side of your clasp. And then connect it here. Okay, so now we can go to the other side, and you may need to pick off some of the little leather bits. Also, a little tip is if you don't have a hole punch, just use a push pin to punch your leather. Use what you have. Okay, so I've attached my clasp, and now I'm ready to start stamping. Okay, so let's get to stamping. First, I'm gonna put my blank on my bench block and just use a couple pieces of tape to secure both sides. Try to get it out onto the edge. Kind of depends on what you want to stamp. We're going to stamp the word lucky and add some little crystals, but you might use up your whole bar with words, so just keep that in mind. And now we're going to use this amazing little stamp guide to help us with our lining up. And you want to just make sure it's nice and centered. Okay, so you can see that extends evenly on both ends. And then we are going to grab a marker and actually write the word and kind of write our design out underneath it. So for this one, I did a little charm on the end. And for this one, I'm gonna do a little crystal at the beginning, not charm. Okay, so you can see the little crystal setting here is about the same size as a letter, so the center of the whole thing is going to be between the U and the C. Makes it really, really easy to stamp. Okay, we've got our hammer. So we're just going to start with the L. I'm going to start with the letters. I'll go back and do the crystal. And you guys want to make sure the letter is facing you. And if you can, kind of pull it down until you feel that tape. You can kind of rock it. And there's your L. Put your U down, make sure it's facing you, bring it back till it touches the tape. Goal is to never pick up your stamp. You can kind of rock it though in its place, and Rita taught me that. She is a really great way of teaching how to stamp, so this is how she does it. And there you have Lucky. Now I'm going to use this little crystal setter, and I've already picked out the crystals to use. And they're going to make a cute little shamrock. So here are the little crystals I'm going to use. I'm going to flip them over. They're so tiny, but they match up with the exact size of this, the end of this one. The kit actually comes with 3 different sizes. And I'm just gonna stamp 4 little circles close together to make a little clover beside it. All right, so that's gonna be really, really cute. My next step is to take it off my bench block, that away. And I'm actually going to go ahead and punch my holes, and then we'll patina and then we'll glue. So the way that I actually did this, I'm sure there's a different way, is to just hold it over the bracelet, grab my ruler, make sure I found the center, and I'm just gonna punch my holes through the metal and through the leather at the same time so that I know they're gonna line up. So grab your hole punch. And punch. Works great. There we go. Okay, so now I've got my holes punched, and I need to work on this guy a little bit. I forgot that the gold ones are actually a lot tougher than the silver ones. The silver ones punch so easily. The gold ones are a little bit harder. I think they're made out of brass. But that's no problem. No worries. Okay, so we're gonna darken the Lucky. It's gonna make it look a lot more contrasty dimension. It's gonna look really, really cool. And all you do for that is you shake up your pen, draw over it, and just let it sit for just a minute. I'm just gonna kind of blot it a little bit. Okay, next step is we're going to grab our bracelet bending bar and bend this into a little curve so it fits right onto the bracelet. And I'm just gonna set it here. I like to start in the middle, just gently bend. The next step is to glue our crystals in. And I'm gonna use a hypo cement glue, but you can use whatever you like to use for your jewelry making, like bead fix gel, or you could even use epoxy, but you really don't need to. All you need is a tiny little dot in each of these divots, and then to put your crystals in and just let it sit for a little bit before you continue on to the next step. I've glued my crystals in and they look super, super cute. I've let them sit for about 5 minutes. And now I'm ready to wrap them onto my bracelet. I'm gonna use 24 gauge wire and I'm gonna cut about 1 foot for each side. So grab your piece. Just gonna start on this side by putting the wire through both the plate and the leather. And I'm gonna have a short side here and a longer side up here. And with the short side, I'm just gonna start wrapping, holding the plate in the middle of the leather. And I'm gonna try to finish this piece off and then I'll use the long one for the next part. The way I'm gonna finish it off is slide it under the plate. And with that little tail, just try to finish it underneath if you can. Like this. And I also like to squeeze my little coils, make them close. Okay, so then with the long piece, just gonna start wrapping over that hole. Kind of covering up the shorter piece of wire. And then I'm gonna finish it off in the same way by coming up underneath the plate. And I'm gonna trim it right there. I don't want any of those little tails to show. And there's that one peeking out. So you wanna just tuck that back in. Okay. Almost try to make it like bite into the leather if you can. Okay, now we're ready to do the other side. I'm going to do the exact same thing, and then that's the last step. This is my last tail and I'm just tucking it underneath the plate. I'm going to pull it through, keeping it close to the rest of everything, and then trim it. And scooch it up close to the other part. And then get as close as you can with the flat side of your flush cutter. Just trim that off. So the back looks like that. There's the front. And all right, let's go back over the tools and supplies we used. We used our hammer, bench block, our flat leather, tweezer nose plier, our leather cutter, flat nose plier, flush cutter, 1.8 millimeter hole punch, bending plier, our enamel marker, our Impress Art stamps, our little stamp guide, our crystal setter in the 1.8 millimeter, and then our little crystals, 24 gauge wire, tape, and we also had our magnetic clasp and 4 jump rings. If you need to pick up any of the tools or supplies we used today, check out the links in the description below. And while you're there, in the comments, let us know what your St. Patrick's Day bracelet would say. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. And now that you know how to make matching his and her St. Patrick's Day bracelets, you can say, I made this.